Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Richmond's Morning News on News Radio WRVA. My name is Rich Herrera. You know how I could tell I'm onto something? When I mention something and I look up and we check the James River Air text line and we read those text messages at 6:50, 7:50, and 8:50. You know I could tell that I'm onto something? When the text messages that don't agree with me get really personal and really nasty. Because that means I'm making sense, and you have nothing else to use except personal insults or being vulgar. And that's why I thought it was interesting in my top 5 this morning. I mentioned the story about the Chicago Bulls waiving Jaden Ivey after his comments criticizing Pride Month. And I knew I was going to get in some hot water with some people. And I know when I was a sports talk show host, this was like the third rail. You are not allowed to talk about that. I don't know how many times I was told, shut up, nobody wants to hear your opinion because you're conservative. Over and over and over again throughout my career I was told that. So I got this one text message today. Top 5 news story is a homophobic basketball player. It truly challenges the idiocy to the propaganda style. Wow. Framing that nonsense of freedom of speech while your inappropriate behavior with children runs rampant through your beloved GOP. The whole virtue signaling of your perceived base is blanking a disgrace. Okay, that's when I knew I was onto something, because I'm going to lay the truth out for you, and it's going to be uncomfortable. And those on the left aren't going to like it because they really are going to see the hypocrisy of this whole thing. So follow me here. I know this is a news talk show, and don't worry, I'm not trying to make this into sports talk, but I did see this story come up, and I wanted to touch on it. So the NBA's always celebrated player activism. Always has. It's part of the fabric of the NBA. They like their players to be able to speak up, to be outspoken, to take stands and be heard. The Chicago Bulls, though, didn't like it when Jaden Ivey did it, and they cut him. Not because of his play on the floor, but because of something he said. And that's where you see reality and the utopian world of the left crashing into each other. You see, in the NBA, they love those outspoken players, those activists that speak out, take stands, and they stand for something. They stand for their principles. They love when they speak up about Black Lives Matter and gun control and anything else under the sun. Oh, they love that. You could talk about gun control, BLM, you could talk about all the things on the left you want in the NBA, and they celebrate that activism because they call that truth to power. You want to trash President Trump on the podium after a game? Go ahead. They'll celebrate that. Truth to power. You want to talk about gun control? Truth to power. We love that. That's part of the fabric of the NBA and our society, and we love when our players take big stances. That, of course, until you say something they don't like, then it flips. Then it's not an expression of activism. Then it's conduct detrimental to the team. You cross that line and you get run out of town. There's an NBA GM that criticized China. He was severely dealt with because China is one of the big partners of the NBA. Freedom Cantor, NBA player, speaks out quite a bit on issues. He speaks truth to power. Do you see him on TV? Do you see him being celebrated in the NBA? Nope. They don't want him around. Why? Because he doesn't speak the truth to power the way they like it, their kind of truth to power. And that brings us to an NBA player by the name of Jaden Ivey. You probably don't know who he is. I probably wouldn't know who he is if he walked in the studio right now and slapped me upside the head. I wouldn't know who he was. He's not a household name. But that's not the point. The point is, in our society on the left, being an activist, being outspoken is great unless I say something that you don't agree with. And then all of a sudden, you become a homophobic player in having a propaganda that you're expressing. It's not truth to power. Now it's something that's bad speech that must be banned. You see, in the NBA and in academia and a lot of different places, People should have a voice to say whatever they want to say, and then in real small letters they put, as long as I agree with you. See what that is really in their version of being an activist and truth to power? It only goes in one direction. And that's where I wanted to read that text message, because this is a freedom of speech thing. This is about freedom of speech. And if I'm going to defend one speech, I got to defend all speech. I'm not going to get into the validity of what he said. But if I'm going to have truth to power and I'm going to have a league where people get to speak up and get to be activists, shouldn't I be able to be an activist and speak my mind freely? Or can I only do that if the lords and ladies that control society deem my voice worthy of being heard? And if it's not, then they'll silence me. And that's where this becomes interesting. I've always said this. I think this goes for life. Your productivity must outweigh your baggage, meaning this. In a meritocracy, I have to treat everybody fairly. I don't have to treat everybody the same. If I'm a superstar, I'm going to get a lot more nonsense put up with. I'm going to get a lot longer of a rope. I'm going to get a lot more freedom if I'm a superstar and I post big numbers. If I'm a salesperson, I bring in huge contracts. You're going to put up with my behavior. If I'm Harvey Specter, if you've ever seen the movie, the TV show Suits, he gets to do a lot more than anybody else because he's the best lawyer they have. Meritocracy means I'm going to put up with a lot more for people that perform than people that don't perform. And my adage has always been, you have a job as long as your performance outweighs your baggage. The second that your baggage is more than your performance, you're gone. That's in a meritocracy. This isn't about meritocracy. This isn't about whether he was a good player, bad player, or anything else. This is simply by the Chicago Bulls admitting this in a statement. This is about him. This is about him and what he said on his Instagram feed that they found to be offensive, and they decided to release him. In fact, do we have that clip? Do you have that clip? Let's play a little bit of what he said. And again, I'm not going to defend what he said. I'm not going to trash what he said. I'm not going to do anything with what he said. But I'm just going to tell you that if I have players that are allowed to say truth to power, if I've got Billie Eilish that can stand up there at an award show and say blank ice, then shouldn't I defend the right of somebody to say something that I don't like as well? Here, take a listen to what he said.
They proclaim Pride Month in the NBA. They proclaim it. They show it to the world. They say, come.
Okay, just a couple more seconds. Pride, not the whole thing, just
for Pride Month to celebrate unrighteous.
All right, that's what he said. He said they celebrate Pride Month. He doesn't agree with it. He says, they celebrate it, and he didn't agree with it. That's what he said. Now, you can call him homophobic all you want. But again, if the NBA and a lot of these other pillars of our culture celebrate activism, do you celebrate all activism or just the activism you like? Do you celebrate free speech and truth to power every single time, or is it only when you like that free speech and that truth to power that you defend it? Because this is about standards. This is about a double standard. This is about his opinion that has ended his NBA career with the Chicago Bulls. By the way, they just traded for him. He hadn't even played yet. He's been injured. And they said, this is so bad, we're going to release him and get rid of him and not pay him anymore. We're going to cut him for conduct detrimental because of something he said, speaking truth to power to the people that run the National Basketball Association. And then they just ended his career with the Bulls. That's not consistency. That's selective truth to power. That's not truth to power. We stand for activism. We only stand for the activism that we like. We select which activism and which truth to power we want to hear. And if you don't have our playbook and you're not singing from our hymnal, you're out. Because it looks like in the NBA and a lot of places in America, you're allowed to speak, but only when those that are in power agree with what you have to say. You're allowed to speak in the league, just not against it. I want to get your thoughts. I thought that was very hypocritical of the NBA, but again, it's kind of what we see in America today. There's certain places like, We love free speech as long as we agree with what you say. To me, free speech is free speech. And the fact that you want to silence people, that means you're not in favor of free speech. Again, Jonathan Turley, when I saw him at the Library of Virginia, he goes, you know, the best way to fight bad speech is not with silencing it, it's more good speech. And again, when we get to free speech versus bad speech, hate speech versus good speech versus bad speech, that means we're no longer talking about people freely being able to express themselves. And if you're a free speech absolutist, which it's difficult to do, it is not easy to be a free speech absolutist. You have to be able to stand up for even the things you find vile, because one day somebody in charge might find what you say vile, and who's going to defend you then? Kind of like Bonhoeffer, there was no one here when they came for me. 833-804-1140, 833-804-1140, the number for you to join us on the James River Air text line, 833-804-1140.